Ready, Carrie? Let's see if I can find.
Are you sure?
Are we up? Are we up? Okay, Bannock County Commissioners are in session. It is Thursday, March 19th, and the year is flying by at rapid pace. Today we get the pleasure of starting off with the sheriff. So, Sheriff, come on up.
Good morning. Tony Manu, Bannock County Sheriff.
Alex Hamilton, Chief Deputy Sheriff's Office.
So, I think you guys are aware of the body scanner we've been talking about, and I think we talk about it every time you come for inspection, which today, are you guys coming out for inspection today, I think, right?
Yeah.
So, the one body scanner that we've been tracking, that we were planning on budgeting for, is Tech 84, which is specifically the one that can fit in the limited space that we do have in the booking area. When we first were looking at it, we got a quote for like $140,000, which was why we were like, well, we're gonna have to wait. Then they sent us an email saying they're closing out some of these. They had like 10 of them left, and they quoted us a new price of $100,500, which is $40,000 less. So we're trying to figure out ways that we can purchase this with the savings that they're offering, and then that includes setup and run. Getting it set up, they'd come down, train, set it up, and get it going in about a month's time. So looking at it, we kind of went through some of our resources. Asset forfeitures was one way, using some asset forfeitures monies and equitable sharing monies, and then possibly some opioid funding. And I think Christie has amounts that we have in those areas.
So in equitable sharing money, we have $18,705.20 for earning.
Thank you.
And then drug seizure, we have $31,295. That would cover the first $50,000. And then when looking at opioid funds, and I did talk to Jonathan about this, we think that we might be able to pay the difference out of opioid.
How do you structure that so it works with the opioid funds?
It's to prevent inmates from, what's the correct term?
Smuggling. Key stream.
Opioids.
I didn't see it.
So last weekend, we had an incident where a female, we knew, based on the arrest, that she was hiding drugs. So we tried to get a search warrant for that, to do a cavity search. They wouldn't sign it. So we were kind of stuck with what we had. So having that body scanner would have been very, very beneficial, but we couldn't get the judge to sign a warrant for us to do a more invasive search. So we were kind of limited on our scope, and that was just 2 weekends ago. And then obviously we had an incident where some was smuggled in, and
Right.
bad outcome.
Well, and I don't have a problem using the opioid funds as long as we can do it.
Yeah.
And if we have more than enough, why wouldn't we use all the opioid funds for something like that as opposed to just a piecemeal of it?
I mean, there are concerns that we can tie it to. One of the concerns that comes to mind is risk of overdose actually for officers dealing with fentanyl. Simply touching it can result in an overdose. So I think that there is a mechanism to tie it into the opioid fund, and I think that makes sense, dealing with the safety issues that we're dealing with as a county.
Because we have a fairly large balance in there, don't we?
We do, and we were just trying to think of some self-sustaining purposes for the sheriff to come up with a portion of it. If you'd like to use the full $100,500.
To me, that would be a logical place to take it from, because again, for the issues you've talked about, for the incident we recently had, for the safety, I believe that's a great use of the opioid funds.
I agree 100%. I think that we take the whole amount out of it. We have funds there. We've tried to find avenues to expend that money, and if this one works, then I'm more than happy to spend that opioid money.
Kim?
Yeah, I don't want to deplete these other funds, because you may need those. If those money is there, and boy, that's an easy tie to surplus, what in the world would be, how can you put a value on maybe saving somebody's life? You know, whether it's an inmate or, an officer. And so if that money's there, I concur, that's where we need to put that. I'm glad, there was two different bids in there, so one's the original and the other one. when they were
140
giv-
was the original.
Okay, and then, so the second, they're giving you a reduction in that?
Reduction to 40,000.
Yeah. Opportunity cost there, we saved 40 grand on that.
And then this is a piggyback?
On a contract that they sell through GSA, that this company can.
Yeah, I
As
thought-
long as they hold to this number, which I did talk to him just 2 days ago, and he said he'd be willing, he'll honor that number and hold it.
And that's just with Shanda, working with her.
Right,
And we
and we
have-
have been,
Yeah, we reached
And
out.
that's what I'm saying, we have gone through the proper steps. of
yes.
The process, and so Shanda's been involved.
Yeah, Shanda just texted me before I walked in here.
So my question is, there's a maintenance fee, an annual maintenance fee. I'm okay if that gets actually paid out of, our funds,
Budget line.
if we, rather than take it out of the opioid, the maintenance, whatever that is. Isn't there 5 years?
Yes,
If we need to do that, I'm okay with that, because that is an ongoing expense of operations. So if there's any reason, well, if we could include it into the opiate and pay that up front for 5 years, I'm okay with that as well. But if there's some reason we need to pay that annually, I think we can deal with that.
okay.
So with that, I would move that we approve this request with the funding to come from the opioid funds as discussed. Any further discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good job, gentlemen.
When you bring forward your budget next year, will you remember to bring up that maintenance fee?
Oh, well,
And then
Yeah.
we'll just shift it to.
okay.
Thanks.
Cool. Scott and friends.
I got a lot of friends today. You got one, right? Just one second. Oh. One more. I'm gonna start with football. Okay. One up. So, good morning, Commissioner Scott Crowther, Event Director. Today we have a discussion about the contract for, this is Southeast Idaho Football League, Youth Football League. Last year we did a 2-year, or last time we did a 2-year contract. I think the contract amount on that was, let's see if I can see where it's at. It was $4,800, or no, sorry, that was the old one. was $44.55, yeah. Yeah. So this year, we've added a 3% increase to that contract, and then we've put this contract together for, looks like through 2028, with a 3% increase each year. So that would mean that this year they would pay $45.89, next year they'd pay $47.27, and 2028 they would pay $48.68. So, and they use, they have the fields in the Pavilion 2 on on 3 different dates, and they use all the fields on 6 additional dates. So there's 9 total dates, and then the 3 pavilion use included in that contract. So,
Yeah, we probably won't use it. I think on that contract it listed September 5th, which is Labor Day weekend. We've been trying not to, last couple of years, we haven't had football on Labor Day weekend. And had a lot of parents appreciate us not doing football on Labor Day weekend, so we've done it forever. So, and I think we're only using Pavilion 2 weekends, not 3. So.
yeah, because the September 5th is the same with the pavilion,
yeah,
so if you cancel that one out.
So that would help. That's one weekend we don't use it.
Okay.
I had a little, and I didn't send this out, but there's a quick, just a quick fact sheet for you guys. Thank Ken and Jeff very well. Ken, it's good to see you back. So I know you were involved when we first started up there at the very beginning of this.
Not as a player.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when we first set everything up and got the fields and everything going.
Sorry,
So,
really quick, can we do intros for the record?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't.
Oh, Les Hernandez, so league president.
I'm Dwayne Rawlings, Vice President of the league. What was the first name?
Dwayne, D-U-A-N-E.
Zach Herring. Another thing that, over the last couple of years, we've been working on the field quality, and we struggle with that every year. Seems like we make some progress. Football comes in, it's very taxing on the fields. By the end of the fields, we tend to get some complaints about some holes and stuff that are in the fields. And then we'll do the same thing this year. We'll start out by, doing more work, top dressing and slicing and doing everything for the fields to try to get them ready. And I think it is coming, but the progress is just slow. Right? The progress is just slow. Last year, Les and I talked early in the year, and he said, "Hey, what can we do to help you guys out on this deal?" And I said, honestly, the best thing you guys can do is support us, right? And so when you have your coaches meetings, when you talk to people, tell them we are working hard, because we do get a lot of people that because the progress is slow in coming, people tend to think the fields are in a state of disrepair, which they're not. We're like, the only way to get those things back to full strength would be to not use them for a year or so. And so so Les he talked to his folks about that, and I had a couple of people that were coaches actually come up to me and tell us, "Hey, we recognize the work you guys are doing. You guys are doing a good job." So just by these guys addressing that in their coaches meeting, actually I think helped us out a lot too.
Well, I would like to start off just by saying we appreciate the relationship we've had. I think we had some rocky times, and I think we're back in a good spot, and appreciate that. So the discussion today, the concerns that I have, again, I want to start off with thanking you for the relationship, but the concerns I have are a couple fold. Number one is our maintenance costs have gone up substantially. And the other issue that I have with us this year is our water issue. I don't know if Scott's talked with you very much about that, but we have used a large amount of water the last few years, and that we're facing some potential increase in costs because of that. And so I struggle a little bit with a 3-year contract with so many unknowns right now. And I used to have a little bit more heartburn than I do right now about the discount that we're giving you guys, but I feel like we're in the ballpark where we need to be with that. So those are my two concerns, is the fuel costs and our maintenance costs have gone up substantially, and as Scott noted, and as a user of the field, I think the fields last year was a pretty decent year. There were a couple fields that were still needing some serious amount of work, but the rest of them I think are coming along pretty nicely. So those are two of my concerns with this contract. Gentlemen, any other thoughts? Ken?
I have, and it's not necessarily just at this, but we need to recognize that it's just not the field use, it's the parking lot. And right now, we're lost a chunk of parking for those footballers with those apartments going in there, and I don't know how we're going to address that, because the parking lot is consumed just as much, if not more, than the fields themselves. And when people show up there, many of them are having to, the wrong people, maybe are even having to park way down to the other end and try to walk up through there. And we deal with a lot of grandmas and grandpas and old people like me trying to get there. So parking is still a concern of mine about any of these long-term contracts. We've got to do something. And this is more of a big view here. The other one is, if we're discounting 75% of the rate, if we're discounting it every year, do we need to relook at that rate structure? I guess my question of it is, why do we have a rate that's there, and then almost every contract that's coming at us is being discounted? So I think we need to look at the process here. Either we need to change the rate, or do other people have to pay that higher price? And they may come back and go, wait a minute, what's the deal? So those are big questions that I have that I need some answers for.
So we do have other users that pay full fee. Friday Night Flag pays full fee. And honestly, one of the reasons that Matt Hagler pays full fee, I think it's Matt.
Yeah.
The reason he pays full fee is because he doesn't want to compete with anybody, right? So we have a lot of people that want to come in and take the fields, and so like getting on the fields and kind of maintaining ownership of those fields, I guess for a better term, is tough. And so Matt used to get fee waivers. He just pays full fees. He rents 2 fields per per day. He does a spring and a fall camp. But I think that the percentage breakdown that these guys get, I think you'll see that like for the most part, most of our youth rodeos get about probably 50 to 60% discount. And we have a couple of youth rodeos that we'll talk about here in a minute. They get about 50 to 60% discount on their fees. I think soccer's probably close to this. I think we talked about that last year. We did increase soccer's. We have increased these fees over the last few years. I mean, it's gone up. I think, what was it, 3 or 4 years ago, it was probably $1,200 a year, and now it's $4,500 a year. So we have increased it. The balance really is, and this is with all youth activities, is I think the point of the fee reduction is to reduce the impact on the kids, right? That's the point of the fee reduction. It's not so that the companies or the nonprofits grow or get bigger. It's really to decrease the impact on the kids. And I can tell you that football is a super expensive sport, but I think that the kids are playing. How much are you guys charging per person then for football?
Two something?
200.
Yeah.
We're 200, but we
Which-
do allow an opportunity for them to raise the money to offset the cost.
And so last time I had my son in Little League football, it was $500, but that was
Correct.
And that was in 2013, 2012, something like that. So, like, relative to the inflation that people have seen in sports, these guys really have kept their costs low. And we do know that if we increase the cost, that will just fall on the shoulders of the kids. So.
Yeah, and that's part of my question there too, is as long as we're not, and we had that same discussion with the soccer,
Mhm.
is if we give a discount, we don't want to have a increased fee piled on to kids. So it's something, it needs to be kept in balance, that if we're giving this field for parks and recreation or whatever it is, we want to make sure that it's acknowledged. And I'm hoping that there's some sponsorships that you're benefiting from as well too, which we don't receive hardly anything there. The rodeo, we do get some trade back with overnight parking, RV, so there are some trade-offs there. So I just want to encourage, and is there a way that we could actually somehow get some service work? There's all kinds of weed picking up and everything else that I would encourage
Yeah,
even your
I mean,
organization to help us
Sure.
keep
If there
those
was-
pathways clean, or at least have a cleanup day or whatever, so that they feel like that they're invested in that.
And if there was a weekend or, spring cleanup day that you wanted to, we could definitely ask our league. I think we'd have all of our directors would all be out there and coaches if we had a day, say, hey, as part of us, in order to keep costs down, we're agreeing to a spring cleanup day, come out and help us pull weeds. We'll just walk the whole place if you need to.
Well, one thing that Les does that he doesn't talk about is every year he asks me to dump some clean dirt close to where they, we'll put it back behind the dumpster so it's not necessarily in people's view. And because they're on the fields every day and they see the holes, he'll literally walk around with a 5-gallon bucket and fill holes,
Yeah.
which
Okay,
which helps me out. It really does help us because, again, the field gets used by everybody. And there's a lot of people that use those fields for free for numerous activities, right? And so we have people that go out and do metal detection, they take out little shovels and dig up pieces of grass, and I gotta talk to them about that. Or we'll have people out hitting golf balls, and I gotta talk to them about that, So there's a lot of people that use the fields and do damage to the fields. And so having somebody go through and just take a 5-gallon bucket and fill it with dirt, I think that's helpful for them. So.
thank you for that.
Yeah. One thing I would like to address real quick too, on the fields themselves this year. The fields were in better shape this year than they've been in a long time. I know Scott, he showed me the slicer. They had put a different slicer on the field, and so it seemed to do a better job of being able to penetrate into the grass, and so it felt like the fields were in best shape they've been in a while. So that was good, and so we were trying to communicate that. And then as far as parking goes, we actually have got a couple of golf carts. So we actually are running people around, so you probably see us doing that, and we're giving people rides all day long, my wife and my daughter, and we got people running people around. And I know with the apartments going across the street there, where it's kind of been the unofficial people who use that as parking, I know that's going to cause an issue. But what we've been trying to do is communicate to people to use the big parking lot kind of the dirt parking lot there across from the lake, which is huge. We get a few people parking there, but I think this year we're gonna have to, I was putting signs up last year too, trying to get people in there, and I think we're gonna need to get people more directed over there. So I don't know if there's any plans and maybe level that a little bit with some sort of, asphalt or something and then line it. I think if it was lined, I think we'd get a lot of people would be more willing to park in there. Otherwise, this kind of looks like big open dirt parking lot, but that might help alleviate some of that parking. And then I know that Scott said there's some chance of maybe some parking there on the north side of that'll take a few cars to alleviate. And then somehow maybe we need to work on getting, being able to cross over the dirt, the dirt bike park. But those kind of things I think we can definitely do, And I know if we need to, raise our first year, up to kind of help alleviate some of the costs, whether it's, I think the contract was a 3-3-3 plus 3%, but, if we need to add it 5% the first year or even 10%, maybe up 10% the first year, 10% gets us up to about $4,900, and then we do 3% the next 2 years, and then we relook at it, and then that kind of helps take away some of that, some of that burden. And then again, volunteering to give us a weekend for a spring cleanup. I can get people out there, I'm sure of it, and if I tell people why we're doing it, what we're doing, I'm sure we have a lot of people come up there. You just direct us, tell us what you want us to do, we can do that.
Commissioner?
That'd be great.
I have a few questions. One is our water. I mean, we were under a curtailment, and we don't have the water for the facility. I mean, so I would like a 1-year contract and not a 3-year contract at this time. Fuel prices have shot up. I mean, that's an unknown, especially for this year. And so and then the other deal is we're doing these percentages off of what our rates were like 3 years ago. So if we raise the fee of the field or the fee, then these rates don't meet. I mean, just 3% over this contract doesn't meet, so we may be in the hole if we end up raising all total fees up there because of the water and the fuel and nut. So that's why I like a one deal. The $200 has been the same fee for 30 years. I don't know. How long's it been $200? I mean, when I coached, it was $200.
We've been close. We've incremented. Our increases have been minimal. We're talking 4 or 5.
And that's what I'm saying is you haven't increased the fee that the participants are paying, but Bannock County's part of it keeps going up. And so maybe it is time to look at an increase in fees or something of that nature on your half. And then the first thing you talk about here is being a nonprofit. Well, if you know our budget from this last season, we're looking at every single nonprofit that we give money to. And we cut a lot of them completely out, a lot of them in half. And so we got to look at all nonprofits the same. I mean, just because this is what we've been doing for the last few years, I say we have to look across the board as commission at what we're doing with all nonprofits, because, I mean, housing, food, I mean, we're looking at everything. And so recreation and youth, I mean, it's all kind of weaved in there together to me. And so.
Well, I, again, love our relationship, love how you serve the kids. And again, I go back to your fees are low, which is fantastic. And I think that's an incredible testament to you guys and how you run the league and your volunteers and everything you do for the kids. And so that's why I, again, want to stress grateful and like to see what we can do to help continue that. I kind of agree with Commissioner Moser, though, that maybe we look at just a 1 year this year and kind of see how the water thing plays out, because that's a big unknown for us on a lot of different things. I'd be willing to maybe meet you halfway instead of raising it 10%, which I think would be huge for you guys. Maybe if we went 5% this year and just did it as a 1 year contract, give us a year to kind of let the proverbial dust settle maybe. Thoughts on that, Commissioner?
In addition to that, what I would encourage, because the water thing is an unknown for us, and one of the groups that can help us the most is the city of Pocatello. So I would encourage anybody to visit with the city of Pocatello. We're trying to work out an agreement between, because we're going to have to use city of Pocatello water. I think the same case needs to be made to them to help us in some of our rates to help you. So if you can help the source up there, because if we end up having to pay a lot of water bill to the city of Pocatello, we got to pass that on. So any influence that you can have, and I don't want you to run in there as a mob, they're trying to work with us, but I would let them know that you would encourage, and it would be very good for the relationship with all of us if you could help us with that. And I would agree that 1 year probably right now is probably prudent.
We just come back from Boise on Tuesday. They're planting already in the Magic Valley and stuff. They plan on irrigating a month earlier than normal, which means we're out of water. That's challenging.
Scott, do you have what that number would be
Yeah, it'd be 46, 78, 57
for the first year, for year one?
for a 1-year contract.
Okay. Would you guys be okay with that? And understanding why we only want to do a 1 year versus the typical 3 till we understand a little bit more what this water picture is going to look like.
And again, we still, more than willing to still do the spring cleanup too with that.
That would be a great thing for all of us.
Anything we can do, I mean, you know, as you said, in Northeast, stay low, I mean, we are, you know, we do provide equipment head to toe for the kids. You know, we provide an opportunity for them to sell raffle tickets. We get local businesses providing raffle tickets. And then we have we do some scholarships. We have some businesses that will donate money to help fund scholarship. But ultimately, it really is trying to provide the game, the sport to as many kids as we can, as low cost as we can. Because you can get $500-600. I mean, just go down to Falls and they're at $300 plus, and plus you have to pay for other things. So we're trying to do. You know, we're a nonprofit. We're all volunteer. Friday Night Flag is a business, so it's a much different business model. So that's a money-making model compared to us. We're just volunteering our time. So no, that's what, and we want to do as much as we can for as many kids as we can. So our program is steadily growing, which has really been cool, considering that most youth sports are decreasing in numbers, and we're not seeing the same. So.
And I would encourage, I mean, we're not just talking kids right here. We're talking parents, grandparents, or whatever, who a lot of them are Bannock County taxpayers.
Right.
You know, a good PR campaign that said, this is what we're doing, so we do benefit it. Everybody pays taxes for that, and some people never get to use it, but enough people that do come into, they need to help us on that cause and champion why this is so important. So whatever you can do will have a ripple effect out through the entire county.
Yeah, we actually, and we talk about it as an event. Each weekend is a separate event. Come see youth football, and we get all kinds of people just walking around watching the games that don't have any kids. Or I see people that, yeah, I have my kids, I just want to come down and see what was going on and watch the game. Exactly. You know, I've seen it there. I've seen her there several times. We've seen the grandkids, but we see the people that are just there to watch the game. So, you know, it's something fun to do. And, you know, we got a few food vendors there, and so we're trying to make it more very family oriented as much as possible. So.
And you've done a great job with that.
Yeah,
Again, as official up there, you guys have done a great job on a lot of different levels. So are we okay, Jonathan, if we just X out the 3 year and change the time on that, or would you prefer Scott to bring back a clean contract?
It's up to the commission. The parties have agreed here on the record. We can line it out and memorialize it that way.
Okay.
We can get another contract cleaned up and just sent to you if you want to just agree to the terms of the contract, which is the
Yeah, that's fine,
one
too.
year at 46, 78, 58, or if you want to do 46, 78, we'll make it clean.
Okay.
Where the decision's already been made, the commission can just bring it
Okay.
up as a business item next.
You guys okay with that?
That sounds good.
And then just a volunteer service day. And,
Yep.
and I would almost say let's push it back towards the fall because we do need to get cleaned up right before they show up.
Okay. If you guys are good with that, let's do that.
I'll make
This
that.
is another one where we go to the 6 other counties that are involved here and say, hey,
Yeah.
little money coming to Bannock County, come on.
And we do have teams and parents from other counties coming here, which is wonderful and great.
Yeah, I mean,
Drop a
the
dollar or
economic
two.
impact is
Yep.
pretty significant. We have several friends that have restaurants, and they always say, we can tell when your season starts, because all of a sudden, the lunches get busy, and, we've got some local restaurants will actually offer discounts for teams. Kids come in with their jersey, they get a discount, so, ISU's been very active in doing things during their games and things, so, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, so we try. For volunteers, we try to do as much as we can, for sure.
With that, I'll make the motion that we go ahead and sign the agreement, 1 year for the 46 and change, whatever that number
What was
is.
it?
4678.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make that, and I would like a new contract,
Yeah.
but we authorize that to be signed, with that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. We have a motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. All right, now we're up.
Thanks.
Yep, thanks, Les. Go ahead and introduce yourself for the record.
Quinn Romrell, District 8 President for High School Rodeo.
So we've actually got 3 contracts, all of them semi-related. So we'll start with the District 8 rodeo contract. District 8 rodeo will come up and they'll use the event center a few days. They run 3 different weekends, April 24th, 25th, May 1st and 2nd, and then May 15th and 16th, and they hold their rodeos those days. So this one, the weather dictates where they play a lot of this. So like I think on the 24th and 25th, they're going to be probably down in the indoor. Every high school kid prefers to rodeo where the state finals happen, which is up at the grandstands. And so if the weather permits, we'll put them up at the grandstands. But really it's just as weather dictates. So, but they have those three weekends, and it's a fee reduction to $1,380. So it's about a 40%, and that's if they use all their days up at the grandstands. If they use them down lower, it's actually probably they pay more, so they pay probably closer to 60% of the sound at bottom.
Okay.
Who is District 8?
District 8 covers the southern part of the state. Where we have it is Marsh Valley Club. Marsh Valley Club is what is in the county that brings us to Pocatello. So usually covers Montpelier, Grace, Afton, Wyoming. We got kids that come from middle of the state of Wyoming, middle of the state of Utah to come rodeo.
These are our Marsh Valley folks. So District 4, District 8 live in Bannock County. And we also have had District 9 that is not in the county, that's primarily in Utah, that wants the rodeo up here too. So, but these guys are our home folks.
Well, that's all I'm pointing out.
Mhm.
We're being recorded and it's on the record and stuff. Is Bannock County does a lot for southeast Idaho.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a lot of things that we participate in and others get the benefit out of. Like I say, we get a little economic boost in our communities because of the rodeos and different things, but we do a lot too.
Well, we like having you here.
Well, thanks.
Glad.
We love being here, so.
Glad to have this agreement and arrangement. Commissioner, anything from you?
You know, and and just to reiterate, the stall rentals
Mhm.
comes to us.
That's correct. And so
The sponsorships are yours, 100%?
correct.
The concessions we get, or is that a
They do food
split?
trucks. We typically don't run concessions.
They don't
for-
run
Okay.
concessions. We usually get our own.
But we do get a percentage of food vendors, from what I'm reading in this contract.
So we take there's a food truck fee that every
Okay.
food vendor has to pay us just to vend
Okay.
on our property.
Just-
Yes. that's
Just be
what we-
clear that if somebody is watching that, there is some
Sure.
money comes to the Bannock County besides just this rental fee.
Correct.
And for the service, we're probably not going to have to use as much water for this as we will soccer or whatever. And again, we're providing it, these are a little older kids than maybe some of the
Sure.
football players, but we're still, they're here, their parents, their grandparents, and so we need to acknowledge that as well. So.
Yeah, and most of these kids are coming back to ISU, I mean, they come back to school here, and, I mean, it's benefiting the county, so
There's a lot of parking on that end.
Since Kate brought it up, what's their water usage compared to other events up there? Like, we had a discussion about Pocatello Downs and their water usage. What's the water usage here?
So on these spring days, it's maybe a truck.
Okay.
And that is part of that grooming, like when we go turn it. So right now, we'll turn it and we'll look at the dirt. We may put water on, we may not, right? But maybe a truck of water.
Okay.
Maybe a truck or two. If it is a hot, windy day, we're gonna throw some water at it. But per event, Pocatello Downs is higher on their usage, but nothing compares to how much we throw at the grass.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that is not close.
Okay. I didn't think he used a lot of water, so
Yeah.
I'm okay with where we're at with that then. Okay, any further discussion? Then I would move that we approve this contract as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, have a great event.
Thank you, appreciate
Okay,
it.
so
You
then
want me to
Quinn's
stay
also representing
Yeah.
the other two. So we have, the next one we're gonna go over is the Idaho Junior Rodeo Association.
We're gonna grill you over this one.
So the Idaho Junior Rodeo Association, it is a crazy event. It's also one of my very favorite events to watch because it's the one you're going to see a 5-year-old riding a horse better than many adults. But the Junior Rodeo Association comes up and uses the grandstands. They have, let's see, 7 days. In the past, they have been a 3-year contract. I did with a 3-year contract on that one. The water is an issue, but really scheduling is a big issue for us. We're kind of expanding what we're doing up at the grandstands, and so I want to just make sure that we don't lock ourselves into dates. So this is a 1-year agreement, again with a 3% increase from last year. The fees they pay, it's $4,500 for the 7 days. So, and full fee on that would be they're not getting a huge discount on this one, so they might be paying 80% on the cost on this one.
Again, I go back and say, we're just love having this event here. It's a great event, not only for us, but for the community. And I feel like this one's, again, worth doing. Thoughts?
It's a good thing football went first. You guys are paying 80%. No, I agree. Good process.
And one of the reasons these guys pay 80%, Ernie, you'll remember, is because these guys have RV spots around the arena that are part of that contract. I think we give them like 10 RV spots or something like that, because you probably remember knocking on doors back in the day, asking people to pay their RV rental fee, So
Yeah.
anyway, we did include that in the contract.
Okay. Ken, you got anything?
No, I'm great with this.
Good.
For the very same reasons, it brings people. I would love to see, I saw a deal that the Auditorium District put together a impact fee and how much money, all those things that they do up there, and I'm sure some of it could be argued, but I would love to see us do that same kind of thing for this rodeo, even the football, the flag football. It helps us to defend that position to people who say, well, I'm a Bannock County taxpayer and I've never set foot on that. Well, sorry about that. That's your problem. But we don't always drive on every street all over that. But as a group, we're providing a great service. And
I think that definitely can be done.
if somebody ever, and I don't know whether Emma could help you with some of that, but it would be great to help defend our position, your position of why we're tying up, why we maintain. I mean, these are expensive facilities.
Sure.
And I just think it would help everybody if we just had full disclosure about what the impact fees could be. We're talking millions of dollars in an annual basis, so.
Yeah.
But I'm good with this as well.
Perfect, thank you.
You want to make a motion on that?
I would, with that, I'll make the motion, we sign the agreement as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we got one more, and this is the MJ qualifier. So the Mike Johnson Toughest qualifier is an event that we hold in the middle of junior high and high school rodeo. So there is a benefit to this event for the complex, right? Because people stay and we do generate revenue from people staying at the complex. But it's also a fun thing for people to participate in. They schedule the event on June 5th. They pay a full fee. So they pay for a tractor rental and then they pay for the grandstands. So this one's a pretty easy one for us. But we don't have a fee for the grandstands, so that's why we bring everything in the contract to you guys.
Okay. You want to do this one?
I'd go ahead and make a motion, we do the toughest contract.
Sure, you're going to take on with the full fee. Good
Yeah.
job.
Right up
We
my
bring a
alley.
full fee on this one, but we do this one, yeah.
All right, we have a motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, hey, appreciate it.
Glad
Thank
to
you
have
very
you.
much.
Appreciate it. All right. Now, I added this tractor discussion. I know we were kind of, I think we were a little bit gridlocked, or at least I felt a little bit gridlocked on what we were going to do with the complex as we were discussing the RFQ that we had for the development or potential development. But with the decision to kind of move past that, I feel like this is a good time to discuss that. So for the past several years, we've had a contract or a lease agreement with Butters Tractors out of Tremonton to provide us with a tractor. So we've always owned one tractor and we've leased a second tractor. We do need 2 tractors for the events that we do. And so we've actually paid a really reasonable rate for our lease tractor. We lease it usually from March 1st to November 1st. So we lease it for 8 months in that area. And we paid somewhere in the, $10,000 to $12,000 a year, which made the lease a pretty attractive offer. They came in and talked to me not too long ago and said that it's more than tripling the contract cost for that. So it puts us up over about $32,000 to $33,000 a year, which again, that conversation happened after our budget happened. But even with that, we purchased a new tractor last year for around, it was about $120,000, $125,000. We have used this lease for 5 years, and I've used the same tractor for 5 years, and it's still a very nice tractor, right? So for me, I think that it is a better choice for us to buy a tractor. We'll get a lot more out of our bang for our buck than we will if we continue to lease. So either we need to come up with $20,000 extra to lease a 6-year-old tractor, or we make the decision to move forward and try to buy one. Now, when we try to look at funds that we have identified, the only funds that I know that were earmarked are not for this project, and they were earmarked a project for the grass to redo the lawns down there, and to maybe move on that 9 acres and move with lawns down there. That was money that was earmarked for the event center or for that project. So I do know there's money in that project, but I think that this is seems to me like a pretty smart move.
And those monies are in PIL.
Can you get us a good deal like we walked into last year?
I've talked to the guy already, and he's got a pretty good deal right now for the same tractor model that we got, which is fantastic. But I'm gonna push a little harder. So.
What's your procurement rate? I might need to involve Shannon.
So they do a piggyback. So there's a piggyback federal contract with these guys. So we don't have to worry about that as much. So.
Well, I think it's a smart move myself. I mean, look at what we just did. I mean, 3 different contracts for tractors. Same situation. What I would like to see is I would say that we move forward, but I want to know a price.
Oh yeah. So
I mean, that's kind of where I'm at.
that's kind of what I'm looking at is to see. I mean, like the tractor we bought last year, we paid out the door. We paid roughly $87,000, somewhere in that area. That was because they gave us a ton of money on our trade-in. They gave us a lot of money on our trade-in. But the tractor originally was $150,000, knocked down to like $125,000. So that's kind of the deal we're looking at right now is a $150,000 tractor knocked down to about $125,000. And we could take a look at it. But the tractors that we're getting are good, and last year we worked with Road and Bridge to identify the best tractors for us to buy from a maintenance standpoint, and that's the reason we went with the Case. It's just a good tractor, good one you guys to use. So, but if you guys want to give me a range or whatever, and obviously I'm going to try to be as frugal as I can. So.
The only question I have is, how many times, and when I say times, it could be a week, do we need multiple tractors?
Almost every weekend in the summer, we need multiple tractors. As a matter of fact, we have the 4th of July. We have Memorial Day where we have the PCRA that's coming, the Pro Rodeo's coming. We could use 3 tractors. So more often than not, I actually need 3 tractors. 2 tractors gets us through our business. And we've had, like the last several years, our lease tractor was a big tractor, and so it could pull our big implements. And so the tractor we bought last year was about the same size. So we had a 140 horsepower tractor, and then we had an 85 horsepower tractor. And the 85 was able to pull some of our implements, not all of them, but some of them. And so we just used that for barrel racing, could use that because that's the groomer they use, right? And so depending on the event, we would kind of flip-flop the tractors. The tractor we're looking at now is, again, 140 horsepower, so you don't have to worry about flip-flopping tractors. You have tractors that can do whatever you need to. In the wintertime, we're not, we pull spreader to spread salt on the road, and we do that with our tractors. So we use our tractors in summer and winter.
Okay.
So, but most of our rodeo events require 2 tractors. And our big events like high school rodeo, I mean, we could use 5.
We'd have to charge more money.
So they actually bring in a tractor, high school rodeo and junior high rodeo bring in a tractor with a driver with their own implement. And last year they brought in 2 tractors with drivers. They leveled and graded all of our arenas for free. They did a lot of work in our venue at their cost, right? And so, like, that's part of that partnership that we really appreciate. So,
Good information.
So the direction is go ahead and find us a price and bring it back, and we'll go from there.
as long as you guys are okay with me utilizing the PILT money for that.
That's our intent.
Okay,
Okay.
great. I will do that then.
And then the last thing on your list is the Lowe's bucket list grant.
Yeah, so the Lowe's, Nancy found this for me. We've been talking about something like this for a little while. I would definitely love to put another playground in. There is a grant through Lowe's Community Development. They, across the country, do about 100 of these grants. The cost for the grant varies pretty significantly based off of what we want to do and what our submission is. But I would like to put a park in next to the RV park, kind of in that corner that we have. There's that little corner right there. I'd like to put a park in. We're doing so. It's kind of hard to find pricing unless you get a salesperson. But I'll just pass these around for you guys to take a look at. Not that So a complex like this, a park like this, just for the equipment is about $100,000. The grant goes up to $300,000, and part of the grant is they want to do a lot of the work. They want to bring in Lowe's associates to come in and do some of the work. So, just kind of in looking at the bid, a park like this so the actual playground equipment itself is like a 2 to 12-year-old range, which is kind of what we have right now. But then you throw in the fitness equipment, which we're currently working on putting in fitness stations. We've got another group that wants to put in fitness stations along the walking path, so we're looking at putting in every quarter mile some type of fitness station. So having kind of a base where there's a greater number of fitness stations, then you put a bunch of body weight only fitness stations across the walking path. I think that's going to just increase the appeal of the complex. So I'm asking permission for us to submit this grant.
This looks like West Yellowstone.
Does it?
Park right in the middle of West Yellowstone, exactly. So Income spent $300,000 on
Did
that
they?
park. They put artificial turf and stuff, which I would go for 300,000 if you
Sure,
could.
sure.
I mean, and put the artificial turf down, and it's, I mean, the maintenance and everything else, you'd have, we're always trying to haul stuff in and everything else, so that's what I'd look at.
And we did look at that artificial turf, but we looked at it like, how do we install it, right? But I think it's probably better having true professionals install that for us.
I have no problem applying for the grant, so.
In fact, what is it? Oh, the one question I had is, I was up there the other day, and you're talking about putting some sort of a facility by the YDC so those
Yes.
guys can go out there and have a place they can have a picnic table or
Mhm.
whatever it is, which I thought is a great idea. So that's a completely separate idea.
Yes. So we have kind of three ideas that are kind of converging right now, and this is the first of those to be presented to you guys. So, but it is everything that I'm looking to do to really improve the quality of the park is going to happen on the Bannock County owned side. I think that we need to invest in making that stuff look nice.
I happened to, when I was pulling out of there was an older couple, and I gotta be careful when I use the word older, but they were walking along, they looked like they're regulars. I almost wanted to stop and ask them how many times a week, what do you think about all of this? So I know you're getting tons of walkers up there, dog walkers and everything else. I think anything we can do along this whole complex is only just gonna enhance that part of Bannock County.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm good with this. And that probably is a good use of that ground right there. Centralized where you can watch it. They can park there if they want to start their, their activities clear around there. I'd fully support that.
So they'd utilize the parking lot right there by the showers and the bathroom.
Yeah, so that is one of the things that we would have to do if that was a public park, is we'd have to open those bathrooms to the public. That is the one thing we'd have to do. Or, I mean, like, I hate putting porta potties out, but, yeah.
We have a gentleman that we just hired that lives right next to it, so
Yeah.
he could keep an eye on that bathroom.
Yeah.
Which, from what they tell me, he does gobs of work up there.
He
Said he's
does.
busy little beaver all over the place, and during the usual, I just think it will just fit in with what we're trying to do there.
Yep. We got a lot of people that are interested in doing things at the complex, and I'm drawing it out all on the Bannock County side, obviously, for the most part, except for a parking lot on
Yeah.
the other side.
Okay,
Thank you.
go get it done.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks. Seth?
Good morning, Seth Scott, District 6 Juvenile Detention Center. So today I'm bringing forward 4 memorandum of agreements between Clark County, Jefferson County, Madison County, and Fremont County. And these are due to the 5-county juvenile detention center that is located in St. Anthony, Idaho. It closed on March 1st. So we are going to be the secondary, well, if you agree to this, but we are going to be the secondary placement facility for those facilities for juvenile offenders. So each one of these, we are proposing a $450 daily fee for those juveniles to be held with us. And I don't really know that we'll hold any for sure, but 3B, which is located in Idaho Falls, that's a juvenile detention center, that's their first placement. They have already, they're using the same formula we are with that 450, and they've made $7,000 this month off of those. They already have contracts with 5 of the counties. I'll be bringing 2 more contracts for Teton County, Idaho, and Teton County, Wyoming, once they've agreed to those on their side.
Okay. And these are county contracts, not state contracts. These are county individuals, not state individuals.
Yes, county,
right?
yep. And they're those 5 counties, plus the Teton County that we'll be contracting with in Wyoming will be the 6th. But we don't know for sure if they're gonna reopen that facility in 2 years. It's my understanding that they just closed it temporarily for 2 years, kind of see how things go, and then they'll look at whether it gets opened again or not. I think it will probably remain closed. It just depends on what these juvenile population incarcerations look like over the next couple of years. Traditionally, over the last 5 years, they've only been holding 1.2 juveniles per day in their detention beds. I think that's partially due to when that facility was built, they relied on state and federal contracts. So they used to contract with the state of Idaho and with federal contract to hold tribal members. And the state contract ended several years ago, and they've been having lower numbers on those federal contracts. So I think that's part of what closed that facility down.
And just kind of a follow-up question, you know where I'm going with this, but would you explain to the board the difference between the payment process for holding a county individual like this versus holding a state individual?
Yeah, so where these contracts are just specifically for county, we're just agreeing to hold for those counties. We are roughly around $250 a day to hold a juvenile, and that could fluctuate. It just depends on how our budget ends at the end of the year. And we are really bare bones. Like we have the minimal staff that we are required to have to remain open. If we were to hold state juveniles, it's very unlikely that we do nowadays because their juvenile population is way lower than it has been in the past as well. But what happens with a state facility is, let's say we commit a juvenile to the state's custody. There's 5 business days to get that juvenile moved to the state. And then after that 5 days, if they haven't got everything prepared and ready, then we start charging them. Current contract that we have with them is just basically paying our fee. So they're paying us $250 a day. I discussed with you re-looking at that contract we have with the state to get it in line with these at $450 a day. But it's very unlikely that we would hold a state juvenile. It's
Right.
possible, but
But
in the near future, I don't see it happening.
The main point was the state gets 5 days free, whereas these counties, their bill starts on day 1. And so that will be a legislative thing that we will be looking at this year.
Yeah, and those 5 days are so that, parents can sign agreements, sign approvals, those kind of things. Bannock County is really effective and does a really great job of having all of their stuff done ahead of time. So typically, if a juvenile gets committed to the state, Bannock County probation officers have everything completed already, and those juveniles usually are gone within about 3 days. Now, we work with 5 other counties, and they rarely have theirs together beforehand. So just to kind of give you an idea of how, Bannock County's doing a really great job of trying to move those juveniles out of here faster.
Yeah.
In this situation, I visited with a couple of commissioners who went up that way, and they were paying a lot of money to keep that facility open for having one person a year, basically. And so I don't see it reopening myself.
So do we have the excess room there to bring on?
We do right now. Our average is 11 juveniles a day. We have 16 beds.
Okay, so you do have the capacity to...
Yes. Yeah, and these contracts are written so that if we get full, they have to move their juvenile within 24 hours. And I think that's where we'll get some of these juveniles is when 3B gets full, then they'll start pushing them our way. Although I do feel like we're probably going to have Jefferson County and Teton, Wyoming will go directly to us if they do.
That was my other question of it is, do they have to go to 3B before they come to here, or can they come direct?
They could come direct, and some of them will, like Jefferson County has or not Jefferson, sorry, Fremont County isn't very happy over this situation, and they feel like they want to work with us.
So they do
before
have
work
some
with
choice
3B.
of jurisdiction?
Yeah, they could come directly to us. I think that they would just go to 3B first because it's easier for transport, both taking them there and picking them up when they're done. And it's easier for parents to come and participate in visitations.
Okay.
So I'm not sure I answered your full question.
Right. And Jonathan, you reviewed all these and don't have any heartburn?
I have no heartburn.
Okay.
One other thing I was going to mention is if they also send us a juvenile that we, causing us all kinds of problems, this contract also includes that we can call them and say you need to get them out of here within 24 hours.
Okay. With that, I'll make the motion that we go ahead and sign all of these 5, is there 5 of them?
There's 4 here now. I'll
4.
be bringing you 2 more when they're done on
Okay.
their ends.
So with these 4, I'll make that motion to go ahead and sign these agreements.
Okay, motion, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, thanks, Seth.
All right, thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thanks. How?
Meryl, you want to come up and join Hal? You okay with that, Hal?
That,
Okay.
before we begin, Commissioner Hal Jensen, Planning Director, before we begin, I'd like to thank Commissioner Bullock for his attendance last night for swearing in of a new council member, and apologize for my sense of humor when he stood up to start. He didn't introduce himself, so I interrupted and said, name and address, please. And he gave me an opportunity to get him real quick.
Yeah.
So, but thanks for your sense of humor. Appreciate it.
So, excuse me, name and address, please, sir, for the record.
There's too many people that want to know where I live, so 5500 South 5th Avenue.
That's kind of what I did, the same thing. Told them up here in the county.
It's always a pleasure. This is an item that, as you sit in the back of the room and listen to everybody in front of you discuss water, and then I want to ask you about tapping into a water line, it just doesn't leave me with a lot of warm fuzzies, so just by way of introduction. I have with us Merrill Quayle. He is with Sunrise Engineering, and of course Kyle Burmester, Director of Public Works with Bannock County. There's 2 other people in the room with us, a gentleman by the name of Brian Ball. He has a very strong interest in the decision that we're hoping to make today, and then Brady Smith, who is with Aviant, and he is the designer that has prepared these drawings that we're going to be looking at and talking about. Real quickly, by way of introduction, there's been a number of conversations that have previously taken place with developers, the city of Pocatello, the county, as well as Sunrise Engineering. We identified a potential and the respective issues that go along with our discussion here. And so I think that they paused long enough to step back to come with a proposal that would make sense long-term. Some of those things will not be answered today, but there's enough information that we can present before you. Mr. Ball owns a piece of property across from the fairgrounds. He owns more than one, but he has one where he is in contract with a developer to bring in a low-income housing, I believe federally funded project. Under their contract, they need to show proof of water to the site, of which there is currently no water to the site, but the water is close. The issue is that the main line that they would request is, for all intents and purposes, owned by Bannock County. It is a private line. The reason that we are here is to ask the county if we could receive permission to tap into the line in Fairgrounds Road and take it across the street so that it is to the property line of the piece in question. That gives Mr. Ball proof that there is water to the site and they can continue forward securing their financing and preparing this project to move forward with the city of Pocatello. In that equation, the long-term goal is once some of that funding becomes secured, there is a new main line that is proposed to run down Fairgrounds Road, starting at Venture Way and run due south. And I believe that line is intended to end at the southern property line of this piece in question, which borders J-Max Holdings, which is the next adjacent piece that then takes us down to the end of Fairgrounds, the southern end of the Fairgrounds property. So in regards to the concept of economic development and how certain things go together, even though Bannock County typically is not a player for city projects, we do potentially become a temporary solution for a long-term project. And that said, we've had multiple discussions. I believe you've had potentially some other conversations, even maybe with Dan Kendall. I've had conversations with Scott. He's shared with me some of his concerns, yet some of his understanding of the long term. From an economic development concept relative to the county, and especially some of the viability and long-term growth, shall we say, of the wellness complex and the event center, this housing project becomes a major component in regards to development, not only as we've seen across to the north, but now all along the western border of the wellness complex. This is going to be a good impetus of start with other development. So, that said, long-term project, we're basically here to ask the commission for permission to tap into the water line. You have drawings, you see the general location. I've hopefully explained enough that you will understand there's going to be more conversations to come as the Fairgrounds Road becomes developed. On the city side, curb gutter sidewalk, widening of the right-of-way, a greenway strip, 9-foot bike and walk path on the west side of Fairgrounds Road as it develops. That's the overall vision of how that will go as it develops in the city. So that is it. We become a very key component for Mr. Ball and moving this project forward.
Mr. Ball, would you mind coming up? Commissioner Moser and I just got back from an affordable housing conference, and so this is a very interesting topic and very timely based on what we just heard this week. Would you give us just a 1-minute overview of what your project is and what it looks like? And
I'd like to say that.
Sorry, you have to give us your name and for the record.
Sorry, Brian Ball, from Rexburg, Idaho, 1086 Horizon Drive.
No, right, where that?
I'm the developer with the land, and I'm selling it to the developer that's actually putting in the project that meets all the certification for the affordable housing funding, and they're the ones that are in charge of the look, the feel of that. We've seen some concept plans of theirs. We've shared that with Merrill Quayle. He can speak to it. He's seen it. We've shown some of that with the city officials already. But it would start here in the next couple of months, and the projected date would be finished within the next 2 years with it. And I'd like to tell you how many units are there. I don't remember if it was 100 and,
About 150.
yeah, about 150 in there. The amenity package is very impressive. It's something that you would see in the Utah market. This developer has they're very well known. They have a lot of projects down through Utah. And so I think it really will be what Hal said, a great anchor for the wellness and for Pocatello to start this development, and then let the fill-in begin between there and Northgate, what Northgate has. So we're really excited for that. And if we could get this tapped out, it just speeds up some of the timelines that the developer is working on because of that affordable housing funding targets and requirements as we finish up working with the city on the long-term structure of this water issue for the whole project.
Okay, thank you. Scott, would you?
Real quickly, by way of clarification, this water is not intended for the overall long-term development. That's why the new main line will come from Venture Way south. This is basically construction water, for lack of a better description. And I don't have a problem with everything that's been presented, other than this main line is metered at Olympus Drive, and we would ask that they modify their drawing should we receive approval for a meter, so that we could then charge accordingly, since we get charged for that water by the city of Pocatello.
Okay. Scott, what are your concerns?
Really, the only concern I have is just that, we don't have shutoffs along the way anywhere for that main line. So last year when we did the building, put water in for our building, we had to shut off the water for everybody. So 4-H, even the complex, because the line runs down kind of through the parking lot next to the grandstand arena, cuts along the road and kind of follows the road, then goes back up and feeds the wellness complex, our drinking fountains, our bathrooms, that kind of stuff, anywhere there's potable water. And so we had another deal where we had to shut down the water for the National Guard to run in. They did another they put a shut off in. So our new building is isolated. There is an isolation that we put in 2 years ago that goes up to the grandstands. We have an isolation into the National Guard now, which is nice. But like if we need to do anything with the water, it takes hours to drain that line out. And so the real concern is if we have any issues with the water line, which we have had, that we don't have any way to isolate those issues really for the rest of the complex. It's just the water just coming down. And then we just meter it. But from my standpoint, I love the idea of growth. I love, like, get more people around that complex. I love that. So that's my 2 cents.
Commissioners?
I just wanted to fill in a couple of the blanks too. The water line to the one that would be put in by the developers, all intensive purposes, should be installed by the end of the summer. And we have put the design through with Brady and myself to put an isolation valve in there at the corner too. So there's one in that area. There would also be an isolation valve that would go to the fire hydrant and that for the construction water for this time. And then we've set it up in such a way that that line would hook into what we are proposing, if the commission approves, that that could be fed, the county line could be worked with the city of Pocatello and possibly putting in another meter at the bottom to be able to supplement, and you would have redundancy for your facility also. Also, there may be a future conversation. We're having one with JMAX possibly Monday. They've reached out. They would, they're looking at potentially putting the water line in at the same time to go across their property and tie back over into Saratoga. So then the city would also have a looped system on their side too. So then again, more redundancy. So I wanted to clarify that in the long term and kind of the timing. By the end of the summer, for all intents and purposes, we would have that line brought in so that redundancy and that would be there. And then the timing, and the reason we're here is the timing with the Utah developer to do this and with the federal money is starting to close pretty tight. And that's why trying to get the tap at this time versus at the end of the summer waiting there, because they have closing dates and that they have to keep moving on, and extending that line completely, and that doesn't fit in that time frame. That's why we're here in front of you. And then again, working with Mr. Jensen and Mr. Burmeister and Mr. Crowther too has been exceptionally well. I just want you to know that.
Thank you. Kyle, do you have anything you want to add?
Just on, to reiterate everything that, with this being a temporary and stuff, trying to work through that, but then also with all the other benefits is this starts to build our future for what we've looked at of having a road that goes around. So part of that, we've looked at different road designs and tried to come up with something that worked for everybody that would start to tie in paths and make things safer, and that's just kind of the starting point. So I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Commissioners?
That's a pretty fragile line, isn't it? Like, don't we have to repair that line every year?
The valves.
Not that particular line.
So the line itself is not bad, it's the valves. So we have, we do have an isolation valve up by a fire hydrant kind of in the corner as you go up towards the racetrack. There is a valve there that just doesn't work. And we put one in back a little bit further. And again, it's about $5,000 to have a line, just one of those valves replaced. And so the valves are bad, the line's good. So it's where all the water issues that we've had up there have been spurs from the main line. So we have a line that feeds down by the horse arenas, the indoor arena down there, that actually runs down where the road, if we ever tied that road around the indoor arena, there's a water line underneath there, and that thing has broken a couple times, and I thought it was the city of Pocatello's, and so I kind of laughed as I called them. Turns out it was us, so it was egg on my face, but yeah, it's the lines away from the main that we have the problems with.
So this line, the temporary line, how big of a line is that?
It would be 8 inches.
8 inch?
Yes, and I believe the area in Fairgrounds Road, when the city installed the sewer line, everything through there indicates that was also a 8-inch line. It was cast iron at the time, right there by the armory. And then further to the north, there was an extension by A&E Engineering that had designed and put in PVC that goes into the wellness complex.
So once, if this goes through, what happens to that line?
The temporary line
Yeah.
that we're calling temporary, that is the line that we've put 2 valves on it, so that line would remain. It could be valved off, and then that's where I'm saying you could work with the city of Pocatello on the bottom end to be able to put in another meter at the bottom, and then that valve could be reopened, and then you would have redundancy feed from the bottom and from the top up off Olympus to be able to feed your complex. And as Mr. Crowther pointed out with the valving, you could have some, there is technology, and the city of Pocatello has that technology, to be able to put in an inline valve in a couple of those spots throughout your system. And if you were to do that, then you could isolate certain areas and wouldn't have to shut the whole fairgrounds property off.
And that's where I'm going, because I know that redundancy, if you don't have that, you don't need, it's not even good water flow. But
Right.
that 9 acres or whatever that we have along through there, we could actually, in my mind, if we ever develop that at some point, we could, after you're through with that, we could actually bring that back around onto that bottom, that west side of county property, right?
Yes.
Without a whole lot of problem, which we would do now, which wouldn't necessarily give us redundancy there, but it would give us another isolation point to use in there.
That is correct.
So, so the city of Pocatello is gonna put in their own line?
The city of
Now till
Pocatello,
then, that will feed everything, the old Armstrong property and all of that of it.
Correct.
That's its own line, so this is only for construction purposes then.
right, and then the isolation valve that could be on now and then would be shut off
Okay.
afterwards until you work something with the city, and then you could have a meter and then a valve, turn that on, and you'd have your redundancy.
But
So we would leave that in place
Okay.
for that purpose, because we do know circulation, redundancy, and your 9 acres you're talking about, and everything else, and the stuff we've figured out with the water issues there. This would be a benefit, I think, for everyone, a win-win for everyone.
Okay. Any cost to the county? with doing this?
Not at this time. Everything would be borne by the developer with everything that we are requesting at this time.
Okay.
Quick clarification, we'll pay for the water and then we'll be reimbursed?
Yes, we could, once this is installed, we could put a fire hydrant, because it'll be a fire hydrant that'll be run for the construction water. We put a meter on there that could be deducted and then reimbursed back to the county, so we could do that at the time until the main line's in, the new one the city is requiring the developers to put in. And once that's in, then there'll be a meter off the city line and then that isolation valve going to the county that would separate the two.
The only concern I would have with that is we haven't budgeted for that extra use. So we would potentially exceed budget, even with the reimbursement. Unless we meet revenue, we wouldn't be able to open the budget. So just something to think about.
Good. Commissioner?
Let's move forward, but I need an MOU or a contract. I mean, this is just a verbal, let's move forward until I see that. If something comes up that I don't like, then it's a no-go.
That was going to be my next question, and I will have conversation with Mr. Radford, and we'll get some items figured out between the developer and Bannock County and get something that we can get in front of the commission for signature.
Just like Commissioner Bullock says, the county shouldn't incur any cost. That should be in there.
Okay, you all right with that?
Yep, I am. As far as we theoretically, in this agreement, any additional cost to our metered use, we will invoice, and the revenue should come in to offset that, but then we'd have to recognize the revenue against that. I'm sure we can figure that out somewhere, but.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, I think you could split it, so it's paid.
I'd have a separate line item. The problem is I can't open the budget until all revenue's met.
No, I mean, and they pay it direct instead of us paying it and get it paid back.
No, because it's a private line, our meter is across, is in the medical plaza, and then we'd be putting another meter in. And there's so many users between, they're the end user on the line. So there would have to be a meter on the fire hydrant that we would have to go down and check, and then we'd have to create an invoice, right? To say, we're paying this much per 1,000 gallons of water. Here's your
But the
fee.
city's only gonna look at the one meter, so
They're
we're
only
gonna have
look
to
at one.
regulate the other
Yeah,
one.
we would have to regulate the other one.
That is correct.
Which, I mean, that is something that is done. We haven't done it a lot, but I think at one point in time, we had a meter up on one of our other fire hydrants that people were, private contractors wanted to come use water, and so that was something we've done in the past.
Welcome to city government.
Okay,
So the armed forces, they're on their own meter?
No, they're on ours.
They're on ours.
So do we get any revenue back? Sorry about this, opening a can of worms, but do we get any revenue
Not that I'm aware of.
back? Okay.
okay, that's another discussion then.
Not that
We
I'm
also
aware of.
own that entire complex.
Yeah.
Can we kick them out?
We could.
Okay, before we get way off the agenda,
Water bills, we're ridiculous.
before we get way off the agenda, you have a verbal approval pending an MOU that's acceptable by both parties. Does that help you guys move forward?
Yes, it does, and we're willing to sign that MOU whenever it's ready.
Get that going.
Okay. Okay,
And
so,
just one thing, you talked about the armory. This would make provisions also that if there is issues that way, then you could have the armory come and get a meter directly on the city line then and get them removed off of the private line.
Which I would encourage.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
it's a good
If
thought.
if the city's bringing their own line down there anyway.
Strongly
Yeah, I'm
encouraged.
okay with that. So,
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
a discovery moment.
Okay, Ms. Clauser.
Christie Clauser, Comptroller. I just have the proposed FY27 budget calendar. Christie gave me potential dates that you guys would be gone that she knew at the time. So if you would review this is a fluid calendar, subject to change as things come up.
I looked at it and I didn't see any problems with those dates.
Works for me.
We're gonna adjust, one way or another.
Yeah, so, I mean, something obviously will come up, but at this point, I looked through all of them and I didn't see anything.
We will be sending out budget sheets the middle of next month. In the past, we've always just put that salaries, submit your requests, but the board would come up with an affordable COLA. Do we want to give any direction on if we're going to do steps, anything like that?
I've asked Commissioner Bullock to work with
Well,
that committee.
That's
this
why
year
we
to
set
work
that
on
out, and I would invite us to maybe come up with an initial date that everybody could agree to and let them make that decision. They can help us make that decision right up front.
Through preliminary conversations with Anita, we're not going to have much of a value change, which means I'm not sure we're going to have much of a boost in
Okay.
revenues to be able to do much for salary increases.
Okay. And that's the information we will share with all those people on that committee, as.
And I'll provide, do you want me to provide that in the letter? when we send out the
Yeah,
sheets?
and see if there's an agreeable, what do you call it, the monkey survey deal or whatever? When's a good time that maybe everybody could have the initial meeting?
I don't know.
Yeah, so I
I'll
don't,
reach
you
out
want to do
the
that?
people on the committee.
You have that Survey Monkey deal or whatever
Oh,
you've
do you
done?
mean for the,
For the people that want it, that are gonna be on that committee.
Oh, that's just a small group. That's just an
Yeah, so
email.
let's get an email and figure out when we can meet.
do you want to
and-
spearhead that? Commissioner Hope did that in the past.
Yep, that'd be great. So, I saw the list. Is that the list that we're gonna move forward with?
That was the prior list, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's start with that, and then if we come up with something different, but I think we gotta start somewhere, then we might ask who else should be here, you know, and be a part of it, so. Because I think sooner than later, we gotta help them with, if they're starting to prepare their budgets, payroll has gotta be a major component of that, so.
Okay, with that, go. So with that, next we have Resolution 2026-17, authorizing the business manager to negotiate contracts. Resolution 18, which is Amendment 1 to the future land use map, and Ordinance 2026-1, which is Amendment 72 to Ordinance 1998-1, which is amending the zoning district designation for Jackson. Any discussion on those resolutions?
Nope.
And I would move to approve all three resolutions as presented. Is there any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that takes us to the claims agenda. Is there any discussion on the claims?
I have one invoice that I need commission review on.
Okay.
We had a department that went to Vegas for a conference. They requested an Uber to go to a grocery store that was also within a shopping complex to get water. We've never paid for that in the past. So when I called the department and let them know that, that was not met agreeably. So I'm just asking the board if that is something we pay for. There is water in the hotel. There was water in multiple places within the hotel, and there was also water within walking distance.
Christie talked to me about this, and I just think it's a can of worms. I mean, on the one hand, yes, I understand taking an Uber if there's nothing available, but when there's something available within walking across the street, literally, or at the hotel, then I don't think that we should be paying for Ubers to go shopping. I've gone to places before and wanted to go shopping or go somewhere. I paid for my own Uber. I think that should be the standard.
I agree. I mean, they're not coming out short on being there. And on some of these things, if it's entertainment, if it's not part of the conference, if it's spare time, I don't want to get into, well, I went to this and got water, but then I went to the show over here, or a ball game, and I want, the county is not shorting people. Part of it is the privilege of going, and you get the knowledge. I don't think that we need to be nickel and dimed.
Okay. Commissioner?
Well, it's interesting to me. They probably could have had it delivered. I mean, that's the other can of worms you're talking about, is if you want to call, what's the name of those places?
Uber Eats.
Yeah, Uber Eats, deliver it. I thought, okay. But,
Walmart delivery.
yeah, but isn't most of the places, if for some reason there really is a water issue, I'm okay if, whatever reason, fine. Get a water bottle from downstairs and put it on the hotel bill. It'd be cheaper than an Uber. But I don't want to do that either.
Can't do that.
You know, but I mean, if you're really looking at dollars and cents, there's a lot of alternatives there. I don't think I want to fine line every little thing, but I'm like you, I'm afraid where this would go. If we paid for an Uber to go get water, what else would we be paying for? And that'd be a mess.
No, I agree with Jason. I've done the same thing, so.
Thank you.
I think the board is unanimous on that. All right.
One other thing that was on there, and is in there, is the resignation of an individual.
Yeah, I was just going to bring Matt, I was just going to go to Matthew.
I would just assume. on that one.
All right, let's see. So yeah, we do have that on there, so I would move that we enter into executive session under Idaho Code 74-2061A, B, and D for personnel.
Have we paid all the bills and everything?
Yeah.
Commissioner Bullock,
Yes.
Commissioner Huff,
Yes.
Commissioner Buzzard.
No.